I trapped the perfect player and perfect manager in the 6th Division of England in the National League North side Banbury. And the results? Well, they're going to shock you. First, let's start with the perfect player. He has a 20 in literally everything. He's a model citizen and he's 6'5" and he's only 17 years old. He is literally the best player you could ever think of. His mate, the perfect manager, also has a 20 in absolutely every stat. I've given them both contracts until at least 2050, so they can't leave Banbury even if they wanted to.
Why you bullying me?
This means if they want to play Champions League football, they're going to have to make sure that Banbury get all the way up into the Premier League and into the Champions League themselves. Now before we start, I want to make some predictions about what's going to happen in this experiment. Firstly, I think Banbury will get automatically promoted until they reach League 1, and then I think they'll struggle from there. Secondly, I think the perfect player will score 50 plus goals in at least 3 seasons in his career. And finally, I think the perfect manager will finish with a 69 win percentage at the end of this experiment. Why don't we go to the end of season 1 and find out? So, after 1 year, what you might have expected to happen has happened. Banbury ended up winning the league, not even losing a single game. And that was due in part to the perfect player who scored 42 goals and assisted 23 in 17 player of the match performances. His stats are all still 20, so he can play in every position, and it's interesting to note that he might be able to play in the centre midfield position. As for the perfect manager, he is still at Banbury and he's still perfect as well. And the preferred formation they uses is a 4-4-2. And the only game that they did lose was 2-0 to Scunthorpe, who also got promoted with them. The first year went as you might expect. So let's now go into the second one. Okay, we're at the end of the second year and Banbury have also dominated again. They finished top of the league with 104 points, losing a few more games this year, but still having a ridiculous goal difference of 65. The perfect player had an even better year this year, which is strange considering they went up a league. He scored 54 goals and 18 assists in 39 league games this year, with an average rating of 8.1. Over the year as a whole, he scored 65 goals in 45 games, which is ridiculous. In terms of the perfect manager, there's not much more to note for him, but we can see that his win percentage is now a 72%, so that is really high. He's only ever lost 10 games, but he's won 79, so that's a really good record. And with a goal difference of 153, you can't really be too upset with that. Now we've done the first 2 years, let's go on to the third. Okay, we're at the end of season 3, and this is where I started thinking that they might slow down in the League 2, League 1 type period. But I was wrong. Banbury dominated League 2, finishing on 99 points with a 56 goal difference again. It was another insane year for the perfect player. He scored 48 goals in 41 league appearances, finishing with 16 assists as well. In terms of the perfect manager, his win percentage is now a 70%, so it's gone down a little bit, but it's still ridiculous. I wonder what kind of transfers Banbury have been doing, considering that they now have a crazy bank balance. Their estimated value is 82 million and their bank balance is over 2 million. But no, it doesn't look like they've made really any transfers at all. They haven't even spent more than 65k in a single season. At the start of this video though, I did predict that Banbury would slow down in League 1 and get stuck there for a few seasons. So I would be absolutely shocked if they were able to win League 1 and get promoted into the Championship next season. In the season preview, they've got Banbury finishing in 21st place, so my prediction looks like it might hold true. But let's go jump to the end of this season and see how they've done in League 1. Okay, we're at the end of that season and looks like my predictions were absolutely wrong. Banbury finished on 99 points again, winning the league, and they had an over 50 goal difference again. This team is just on an absolute rampage and they haven't really made any transfers at all. The perfect player had a ridiculous year, scoring 44 league goals and 25 assists in 42 games this year, finishing with his second highest average rating of a 7.96. And somehow he only has a value of 43 million to 128 million. I don't understand that at all. But it does look like he started to get some caps for England. He's had 28 and scored 13 goals so far. And in the most recent World Cup, the perfect player actually came runners up in the Golden Boot, losing to Lucas Ocampos, which is very strange. In terms of the perfect manager, his win percentage is now at 69%, and it looks like that might also be falling, as I don't predict Banbury will do very well this season in the Championship, considering that they now don't really spend that much. Speaking of transfers, Banbury have spent a little bit of money this year. They spent $250,000 on a few players this season already. But as the season preview has them finishing in dead last with $201 odds, I'm going to skip ahead 5 years and hopefully by then they've maybe made it into the Premier League. Okay, this has taken me a lot longer than I would have expected. It's now 5 years into the future and I'm in a different place. Taking a look at Banbury, and yes, they're in the Premier League. I don't know how. We'll start with the perfect player. He's now played 9 seasons And in those 9 seasons, he has now been ridiculous. In the previous 5, he has absolutely dominated since we last checked in. His first and only season in the championship, he nearly scored 50 goals. After that, it was into the Premier League, and oh boy, did he dominate. In his most recent season, he averaged a 7.56, which is just phenomenal. So phenomenal, in fact, that he has now won the Ballon d'Or. And that was due to his 49 goals in 46 appearances in this last season. When we last checked, he just started to play for England, and now he's had 88 caps and 59 goals. So let's see how England's done. Okay, and they're first in the world rankings. And starting with the World Cup, they actually won the last World Cup 3-0 against the Dutch. The perfect player didn't have the best game. He only had 1 key pass and averaged a 6.9 over the game, but they still won nonetheless. In terms of the Euros, they actually won the most recent one of that as well, beating France 1-0. Coming back to the perfect player, and he's now played 360 games in the league for Banbury, scoring 361 goals, which is just crazy. The other awards that he's won has been 4 continuous Premier League Golden Boots, along with 4 continuous European Golden Shoes. Now, in terms of the perfect manager, his win percentage has now gone down to a 57%, which isn't as good as I hoped. But he has been splashing the cash with a £67 million transfer in there. And that obviously means that Banbury has been splashing the cash as of late. So let's go and see how they've been doing in terms of the leagues. And just looking at the media prediction, they're predicted to finish in 19th. So maybe they really haven't been that good in the Premier League. Okay, and I was completely wrong. They finished 11th in their very first season, then 12th, 13th, and then in the most recent season they finished in 10th place. But coming back to the championship year where we left upon, they finished with 97 points and 28 wins. Banbury are just ridiculous with the perfect player and manager. And in terms of the cups, they haven't been too bad either. They came runners up for the FA Cup in 2029-2030, which is another outstanding achievement, considering that they are a really mid-table team. The team as a whole now has an estimated value of 680 million, which is just insane. And it looks like they've been filling their squad with just other wonder kids, the same as the perfect player, with this bloke here, Ruslan Melinkov, who looks very decent for a 21-year-old. I'm going to skip now 6 years ahead, so the perfect player and manager have been in the game for 15 years, and by then, I've got to change my predictions now. I think that Banbury might have at least come close to winning the Premier League maybe once. And maybe they've made it into the European competitions by then. I don't know. This is crazy. I did not expect them to make it even into the Championship. So the fact that they're in the Premier League is astonishing. But let's go and meet up again at the end of 6 years. And hopefully by then, we have some more silverware. Okay, and it's now been 6 more years. We're in the year 2038, and the perfect player is still dominating. He's now scored 562 goals in 584 league appearances, and he's had 150 caps for England, scoring 118 times, which I'm not sure about any records, but I feel like that's pretty up there. He's just been on an absolute tear again, as that's what we'll come to expect by now. But he did score 42 goals in the year 2035-36, which is just ridiculous. A 7.77 rating, which is just outstanding. But that's not even his best season in the Premier League, apparently, because that was this season where he only scored 32 goals, but he was player of the match 14 times, ending with a 7.82 match rating. Moving over to the Ballon d'Or, and he didn't win it every year since we last checked in. He's won the most recent 4, but Vinicius Jr. and Ethan Nwaneri have stolen a few Ballon d'Ors off him, so maybe Banbury weren't doing that good. But I feel like they must have been doing pretty good recently because he's won 4 in a row. Heading over to Banbury now, we'll start off with how they went in the FA Cup. And of course, they have won the last 2. They did only beat Brighton and Southampton, but still, they've won the last 2 FA Cups, so they must be at the top of the Premier League by now. So let's go and have a look at how the Premier League has been. Of course, perfect player and manager just seem too unstoppable. They've won 3 Premier Leagues now. They won in 2033, 34, 2036, and most recently in 2038. They did come runners up in the season before, losing to Arsenal, but I don't think they really care because they've won 3 Premier Leagues now. And I just wanted to quickly have a look at the Golden Boot, and yes, the perfect player has absolutely been dominating. No one's even got close. Taking a look at this season's preview though, they only have Banbury finishing in 4th place, so I wonder how they're going in the Champions League. Okay, and if we go over to the Champions League, I'm going to click on 2 past winners, and hopefully there is some Banbury in there. I can't see any in the winners, but yes, they have made it to at least 2 finals. They've made the final in 2033-34 and the season that just went before this, losing to Barcelona on both occasions. I don't think they really care though, because their estimated value is now $2 billion and they have a bank balance of almost 200 million. So They've come from absolutely nothing, and getting two people into your club, the best ever player and the best ever manager, has just been an absolute godsend for them. They now have the perfect training facilities and youth facilities as well, and they have 36 million social media followers, which is a lot. But Banbury isn't the only team that Perfect Player plays for. He also plays for England, so let's see how they've done in the last World Cup. We can see that they're still in first in the world rankings, and it looks like they did win the last World Cup as well, beating France. I can't actually see the results, but it looks like they won in extra time against France, and I'm guessing it was Perfect Player who scored the winner. In terms of the Euros, they've won the last couple of those as well, which is just ridiculous. They've now won 4 in a row, and I'm tipping it's all because of the Perfect Player. Taking a look at the Golden Boot in the most recent 3 of the Euros, he has won all of them, so obviously it was his fault. And if we head to the World Cup, taking a look at the Golden Shoe, the Perfect Player scored 12 in the most recent World Cup and 14 in the one before, which is just crazy. That's the record for the most ever by anyone. But that is how they've gone in the last few seasons. They're now 32, so I'm now going to skip ahead to the end of their career. Should be around the age of 40. I don't know if I've set the transfer a bit too late, but if not, I'll cut in early and we'll finish up their careers around 40, 41 and see how they've done. Okay, we've moved all the way to the year 2046. The Perfect Player is now 40 years old, and I don't think he's going to retire until he gets his move to Real Madrid, which I put in so he doesn't move clubs. So I'm just going to retire him now at the age of 40 because I don't think anyone's playing past the age of 40 really, unless he's that old guy from Japan. And he's now played 847 games for Banbury, scoring 807 times. So his goals to game ratio has gone down a little bit, but it's still crazy. He actually finished up on 173 caps for England. So I'm guessing after the last couple World Cups that we checked in on, he said he's retiring from world football. As for Banbury though, he has still been on an absolute tear. He actually did have a really bad year though in 2038-39. He must have been injured because he only scored 13 goals. But after that, he went on an absolute crazy tear again. He actually scored 40 goals again in the year 2044-45. And it looks like my prediction of him scoring 53 times in his career has been wrong as well. So looks like I'm just shocking at predictions. But it seems like statistically this was his best year. He had an average rating of 7.84 and scored 40 goals in 34 league appearances and assisted 9 times. In terms of the Ballon d'Or, he ended up winning a lot. When we last checked in, he'd won 4 in a row, so he was on 5. And then since then, he's won another 4 Ballon d'Ors, so that's ridiculous. And he's won even more of the FIFA Best Men's Player, but I just wanted to point out, in the most recent season, he's been absolutely robbed by his actual teammate. His teammate scored 32 goals and had 9 assists in 52 games, and the Perfect Player scored 60 and 19 assists with the average rating of 7.7 and somehow didn't win the best FIFA men's players. I'm guessing it's a bit of voter fatigue. In terms of Banbury though, they are still absolutely loaded. They're still worth $2 billion. They still have heaps of money in the bank. The Perfect Manager has managed for 1,294 games, so almost 1,300 games at Banbury, with a win percentage of 63%. So he's actually pretty close to my prediction of 69%. He ended up winning 822 games and drew on less than 250 and lost less than 250. So that's what I would call absolutely successful. A goal difference of 1,315 is also not too shabby as well. Taking a look at how Banbury has gone though, first up we're going to stop off at the Premier League, and well, they only won 2 more since we last checked in. So I'm actually quite disappointed by that. I thought they would have gone on an absolute tear and just kept winning them. They've ended with 5 in this simulation, so I guess maybe I'm being a bit greedy because 5 Premier Leagues, considering they started down in the Vanarama National League South, I think it was. Yeah, that's pretty good. I would say that's pretty good. I'm sure if you asked any of the Banbury locals if in 25 years they had won 5 Premier Leagues, would they be pretty happy? And I'm sure every single one of them would have said, yeah, I'll be pretty happy with that. They did come runners up a few times though. They came runners up 4 times in the last 10 seasons, which is a bit devastating. In terms of other competitions, they ended up winning 4 FA Cups, which is also good. They won 5 Carabao Cups, the first starting in 2032 and the last coming in 2044-45. And for the one that we all want to know about, the Champions League, they ended up winning 2, which was in not the last season that just went, but the 2 seasons before that, they actually won them. So good on them. They did beat West Ham and Tottenham, so I guess that's funny. But Tottenham lost 2 Champions League finals in a row, which is a bit devo for them. But not as devo as Banbury, who did lose 3 Champions Leagues, 2 to Barcelona and 1 to Man City. So that's pretty devo. But I would say also, if you ask Banbury fans again if they would had won 2 Champions Leagues by the year 2045, they would all be very happy with that. Now, in terms of the perfect manager, if we come to this stats screen, we can see all the other stats that you want to see. 18 cup wins, 10 league wins, 5 promotions is just crazy. And it looks like he actually ended up spending a bit of money and selling a lot of players. He had a transfer value bought of 1.87 billion and a transfer value sold of 1.24, which is a lot of money. But the best player that he did buy was Gabriel Almeida, who looks like he did buy very early on and then sold to Inter, and he must have bought them back for a massive fee. If we come to the Hall of Fame, the perfect manager has actually made it into 10th place all time in terms of managing, which is ridiculous. There's a lot of trophies down here. I'm not going to go through them all. You can look at them if you want. But Pep has the best score of 8,331, and it's miles ahead of second place, which is Xavi. And it looks like most recently he's been managing for Inter, after taking a quick stop at PSG. So the man just keeps winning everywhere he goes. Going over to England now, they did not win another World Cup. And the perfect player ended up finishing his international career in 2040, which was after they won another Euros. So obviously they did not go as well after he left, but that doesn't matter because he brought them 2 World Cups and a hell of a lot of Euros. So good on him and good on England. That's now taken us to the end of this video. This has taken me way longer than I would have expected. As you can imagine, these videos take ages to make. So if you liked it, please make sure to give me a like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you've got any other type of videos you want me to do, also let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you do like these type of videos, make sure you click on this one here. I've made it just for you. And I've also made this one here just for you as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.